Welcome to the Martial Arts Lifestyle Podcast, where we talk with martial arts practitioners about their histories and the influence that their practice of martial arts has on their lives. You are listening to the free version of this podcast, which is abbreviated. Help support this program by considering to subscribe to us on Patreon, where you will get 4 full-length podcasts each month, 1 week before the YouTube release date. The cost is that of about 1 coffee shop coffee per month. Go to www.patreon.com/malmag to subscribe. That is www.patreon.com/malmag. If you would like to purchase single full-length episodes of the Martial Arts Lifestyle Podcast, visit our Gumroad page at malmag.gumroad.com, and that is malmag.gumroad.com. This week I connect to the East Coast through Zoom with martial arts and kettlebell expert Michael Krivka. He talks about his martial arts history from studying Ninjutsu to Jeet Kune Do and the Filipino Martial Arts. Sit back and enjoy this fun conversation. Welcome to the Martial Art Lifestyle Podcast, and today I've got a very interesting guest, someone I've known of for a long time, and known my senior in the Inosanto family, and also the instructor of a very good friend of mine who is one of my former guests, and we'll kind of get into that later. But this man is an East Coast practitioner of not only martial art, but is a expert in kettlebells and fitness. And so I've been looking forward to getting this gentleman on the show and talking about everything under the sun, realistically, but mostly about him and his thoughts on things. This is Mike Krivka.
Thank you, Tim. It's great to be here, man.
All right. Well, it's excellent to talk to you, and you're an interesting enough guy that I'm willing to get up so early on West Coast time.
Oh, that's right. We have you're different time zone. I'm so sorry, man.
No, it's really good. Honestly, I try to get up early, and I like excuses to do so, because one time in my life I did that, and then what happened was I turned into this second shift editor guy for television for like 20 years.
Yeah.
And so I would live my daytime life, and then I would go to work at 6 p.m. and work until 3 o'clock in the morning or so, and then so like early mornings kind of became out. 9 a.m. was great, but now I'm trying to shift myself back into getting up at 6 to 7 somewhere. And
at 61 years old, the thought of working from 6 to 3 just sounds impossible. It's like that's my prime sleeping hours, between 9 and 3 in the morning. It's like, holy cow, I couldn't do that anymore. No.
I'm getting there as well. I'll be 54 here in October, and I think I have fully, in the last couple of years, shifted out of that. By midnight I'm a wilting flower. I sometimes wake up about 12:30 realizing, oh, you turned something on the television and you just slept through an hour.
Slept 3 hours, yeah. So the last time I was up at midnight, and this is an honest story, so John Wick 4 was coming out, and they had a midnight showing, and I took both my sons and my whole martial arts crew and half the kettlebell class to a midnight movie, and I stayed awake, and that was like a 2-hour and 45-minute movie. And of course, we get home at like 3 o'clock in the morning, and my poor 15-year-old son at the time has to get up to go to school at 6:30. I'm going, it's gonna be a long day, brother. But he didn't complain. We had a great time. It was a great movie, a lot of fun. But it's like, Dad, you're awake, and it's 2:30 in the morning. Yes, I am, but not for long. Trust me.
Right. And he's got to get up. And you said, well, get used to your life in 3 years when you go to college, my
exactly. You'll be up late at night and be in class by 8 o'clock in the morning. So just suck it up and get used to it.
God, yeah. Woo. Those days. All right. Well, again, like I said, my pleasure to have you here. It was you're on my list for a long time, and
I've been on a lot of lists, trust me, in my lifetime.
Well, this one, my friend, is a good list.
Okay. I'm sorry. Okay, thank you.
I know there's those shit lists out there. That wasn't what that was.
Multiple shit lists that I'm on, trust me.
Oh my gosh. So I guess let's just kind of start in the beginning. What and when did you get involved in martial arts? Or why? I say why and when?
Okay, so the why is easy. I was at a very young age, I was fascinated with magic, and in particular Houdini. So I could probably show you the book if I could grab it. But back in our day, back in your day too, remember the books you can get through Scholastic, and they had like autobiographies, and one of them I bought was Houdini. And it's just fascinated me. It's just thrilling person, interesting background, the ability to escape from anything and do magic tricks was kind of cool to me.
Yeah.
And then a handful of years later, I got involved. I was fascinated by Bruce Lee popping up on the scene. This is about 1972, 73, right before he died. And so I was, buying magazines, and I decided I was going to supplement my magic career with training in the martial arts. So Bruce Lee was the impetus for me getting started. And of course, back then there was no JKD to train in because it was still in its infancy and all West Coast based. So I started training in Kung Fu and Taekwondo. Eventually progressed to judo, jiu-jitsu, fencing, some wrestling, that kind of stuff, and then got to college, and it started. So there's a interspersed place in there as well where I was trying to do magic and the martial arts at the same time, and I had eventually just flip a coin. So okay, well, either you're going to stay with the magic and make a career of it, or make a go of it, or go with the martial arts. So
don't they call that ninjutsu?
Yeah, well, so that's what I was getting to. So I go, okay, well, I flipped the coin, and martial arts won. I said, well, I can go when I get old, like 30, I'll be too old to do the martial arts, and I'll just go do magic instead. Okay, so shortly after that, the ninja craze popped in. We had all the Enter the Ninja, that kind of stuff, and all these crazy movies. And I ended up, I'm trying to think where my first seminar with Stephen Hayes was. Probably in Ohio. I probably drove from here to lower buttfuck Ohio to train with Stephen Hayes, and was fascinated by it. I really loved the. So there was the hokey part of this, where the Noriega guy, the guy from New York City, disappearing, and the throwing stars and that kind of stuff. But as a classical martial art, ninjutsu is fascinating. There are there are a wide number of systems inside there that are quote unquote ninjutsu systems, but they're also anti-samurai systems, and there are samurai systems, and they're all like grappling and armor systems, and in fighting with certain battlefield weapons that were just fascinating to me. And the history behind them was, to me, as a closet geek and scholar, being able to research these systems and learn about their backgrounds and what they were used for, and the reasoning behind their technical expertise in certain weapons and certain movement patterns was fascinating to me. So hooked up with Stephen Hayes, Jack Hoban, Bud Malmstrom, all the first generation ninjutsu guys. Yeah, well, see, you're probably old enough to remember those guys, and then end up training with them for quite a long time. I end up being, I trained with the Hatsumi Sensei quite a few times. I brought Hatsumi Sensei and 5 of the other master instructors in from Japan for a world tour, basically all around the United States. Had a great time. Once again, I was very, very fortunate to be in the right place at the right time, and also be insistent enough that I got to the front of the class and made myself known, and made myself useful to these guys. I was definitely the punching bag for the Japanese instructors. They loved me. I had really good break falls, and I could take a hit like nobody could, So they'd knock me down, and I'd pop back up. So it was great experience. It really was. And then that led me to, so literally that transition from being a 5th degree black belt in ninjutsu, was called Shidoshi Ho, which is a instructor of instructors, which was cool. I understood how to use the various weaponry and the grappling and the striking, that kind of stuff, in this very, very classical form. And then a buddy of mine in Pennsylvania, I'd gone to school in Western Pennsylvania. He called me up. We were talking on the phone. He goes, "Hey, Dan Inosanto is going to be in town in about 2 weeks. You want to come up for the weekend and go to a seminar?" I said, I've never met Dan, and I knew who he was from the magazine articles. I knew he trained with Bruce, and this is fascinating. I want to go see this. So I went to this weekend workshop with Dan Inosanto in Pittsburgh. A gentleman named Don Guerin, who's an old friend of mine, hosted the seminar, and I was immediately fascinated and disgusted at the same time. So between the fluidity of the kickboxing and the trapping, and the magnificent weaponry that Dan demonstrated, and once again, I was considered to be an instructor with the sword, the hanbo, the jo, the bow, and the tanto. Okay, so in a classical Japanese setting, I was considered to be an expert in these tools. And I go like, what the hell? It's like, this was beautiful.
Yeah.
And it was frustrating because Don, who I knew tangentially from kickboxing tournaments, Don pairs me up with this like 12-year-old kid doing double stick work. And this kid is like, it's like sticking your hand into a lawnmower. You know, I'm going, what
Right,
the
yeah.
hell? And so we're, you know, this kid's just drilling me into the ground. And Guro Dan's at the other side of the room, and he's walking around watching people, you know. And I'm just going like, I go, fuck, and I just throw my sticks in the air and walk out of the room. And Guro Dan saw me do it, right? And I'm standing in the hallway. I'm going, you know, I gotta get this. This is so cool. It is so beautiful. I've got to learn this, you know. And I walk back in. He goes, how you doing? I said, I'm good. I'm coming back, and I'm not stopping. It's good. So that was my you know, face on face intro to Guro Dan, and literally from that point forward, I've been training with Guro Dan. So it's been about, I guess just shy of 40 years.
Wow. You know, it's funny. Yeah, your story there, especially in that part.
Yeah,
does not. He tells a lot of stories of this sort of thing. So you don't have an unusual story. I mean, he talks about several times, and it has said it recently in class too, about when he took Paula to some training session that was mostly Okinawan and Japanese Kobudo guys that were like at 8th degree, 7th degree level, and kept asking him, so what is she, 6th degree, 7th degree? And he's like, no. You know, she just, and it was like in the beginning of her training, and how they just couldn't get that. And you know, in the end, now, you know, we look at it now with an eye and go, okay, it has nothing to do with the weaponry of ninjutsu or Okinawan karate. It's just the training methods. The Filipino training methods are so much more getting you into that motion and combativeness quicker, that it really isn't the style as much as the training method.
Yeah, you know, I think also, I mean, and I attest. So I've been very, very fortunate to train with a number of Filipino martial arts instructors and master instructors, and their mentality behind training is obviously very different than the Japanese or Okinawans or even the Chinese I worked with, but their understanding of what's going to happen in a fight, especially with weapons, is
Right.
very, very unique. Very, very unique. In that, you know, you have to be good at blitzing. You have to literally have a overwhelming force of violence to respond to any sort of attack.
Right,
and,
right.
You know, knowing that you're not going to block and parry, which is it's a good introductory method to train people to get them comfortable under fire. It's not very effective in actual combat. So, you know, the uniqueness behind the weapon system, the ability to flow and to add speed and power, and their mentality was just superior. Now, I still, to this very day, love training in traditional Japanese martial arts. I really do. I mean, I've been looking for someone here on the East Coast to get back into the Bojutsu and the Hanbojutsu and the Jojutsu, just because I just love that mentality. I mean, I think, you know, if you look back on the mental aspects of both the different types of martial arts, there is some of a fatalism involved in the Japanese martial arts. Hey, I'm already dead, so I'm just going to take you out the best way I can.
Yeah, yeah.
And if you talk to Guro Dan, he goes, you don't train to fight, you train because you love. So I mean, completely. I mean, you couldn't get any more different on the spectrum between, hey, I'm already dead, I'm just going to kill you if I have to, and die if I need to, you know. But you train, you become a martial artist, you become lethal in whatever aspects, because you love so much and you want to protect your family, you want to protect your friends, you want to protect your community. So, and I think it's a completely different mentality, which possibly reflects in the training method.
Yeah. There's that. And I've even thought of the fact that I think Kali was probably, or anything Filipino martial art, was probably the first martial art I ever got into that the religious connection to it was Catholicism and not Buddhism. So there's a
Isn't
different,
that fascinating?
Yeah. There's a whole different, or even Islam when you talk about Southern Philippines and Silat. So you've got a very different philosophy sort of that comes in there, like you said, in that mentality, just because I think the religion of the practitioners was different. So that kind of made things a little interesting as well.
Yeah, no, that's, I mean, once again, if you look to Guro Dan about that, it's a fascinating discussion. I know, trying to think, it was one of the instructor camps that I was at, and he went on a tangent about Catholicism and how integral it was to the Filipino martial arts. Obviously, very very strong in the Spanish community.
Right.
That's what helped build and help systematize, and they integrated the numerology, that kind of stuff. And he talked for like 35 minutes, and he goes, "Oh, I'm boring you guys." I'm like furiously taking notes, I'm going, no, keep going, sir. And I mean, I'm sure there are some people who nodded off, which is fine. But
right,
his historical knowledge, as well as obviously his physical and technical knowledge, has always been fascinating to me. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, I have. I mean, I've been fortunate to train with literally world renowned masters in the martial arts, and there is no one who I've met who compares to him. I mean, I think the only person I can really tell you that would come to a close second would be Dr. Hatsumi, Masaaki Hatsumi, my ninjutsu master, who was a fascinating man. I mean, he is a one of a kind person, as is Guro Dan. I mean, I can tell you stories back in the 90s where there were death threats being sent against Guro Dan. And I would get a phone call from Paula, because he goes, "Are you going to the seminar in New Jersey?" I said, "Yes, ma'am." She goes, "Protect Guro Dan. Don't get more than 2 arms length away from us." I said, "Yes, ma'am." I said, "Should I carry?" She goes, "Completely up to you." So we were intercepting guys right and left who'd be walking up to Guro Dan. I just grab by the arm and walk them away.
Right.
Or so, there'd be guys. I mean, literally during like breaks in the training, I would be following Guro Dan through the crowd, because Guro, he just wandered around and talked to people and help you out. It was a weird time, but people found him as being a threat to Bruce's legacy or to whatever. So it was it was interesting stories back then. I could tell you that offline, but I won't do it publicly. It'll embarrass people.
I'd love to hear those, but definitely in a different format. But we can talk about that time period in general, because 80s and 90s. Now, I started martial arts in 1982, summer of 82. So I was like 12 years old, and I remember. So I was fortunately in a very unique karate school where the trainer was also a PKA kickboxing trainer and boxing trainer. So it did attract a cross section of martial art people who wanted to fight professionally.
Yeah.
So it had a mix of different people there. The school also, he subleased to a Taekwondo guy, and he subleased to a Kung Fu guy, and he subleased to a Shorinji Kempo guy. So even though it didn't kind of act like sort of modern Inosanto type academy where you could say pay one price and take a bunch of martial arts, you would have had to pay these guys individually. But we did see all of it because we were practicing under the same roof, and we had different rooms, but it was easy to see these folks and then to interact with them and talk with them. And in fact, the Kung Fu instructor from there is someone I've kept in touch with and is very close and always has been, someone that I looked up to. And so we really did sort of blend and get along with all these other martial art people, which was kind of unusual for the time, because I know when it came to other schools in the area, it's like you didn't mix. Those were rivals. And
no, that was still very prevalent in the early 80s and 90s.
Yeah. And then this idea of challenging and all that stuff. Like, I remember not a lot, but I can remember 4 times specifically, 5 times maybe, in from 82 to say 87, when I was there from middle school to high school, people coming in off the street and actually dropping some sort of challenge. And that's just street people. And then let alone the other martial artists in the area. And even in high school, someone from a rival school that I thought Cobra Kai was made after, but apparently that's a little bit more of a common attitude, which is probably why they did it in the film.
Yeah.
But I thought, oh my God, how do they know about, I won't say the name either because I don't want to, create problems in a podcast, but such and such karate school, how did they know about those guys and design this whole story after them, and it's like they didn't know about that specific one, but they knew about plenty. And these guys would travel in packs of 5 and challenge someone. And I remember they would challenge a friend of mine at this teenage nightclub we had. So I ran over to help him, and these 5 guys froze, like they didn't know what to do because they'd have to go get another 5 guys because they only fought like 5 against 1. It's like a weird time.
I can tell you one story that's relatively public. And this is at my current location. About 12 years ago, a guy came in, and I was teaching martial arts and kettlebell at the same time, in the same facility like I'm doing now. And he challenged me to a fight. He goes, I want to fight you. I hear you're pretty good. I go, great. So I reach under the counter and I toss him a machete, and I grab one. So let's go outside. And he goes, pink, and just walks out the door. And everybody goes, hey, what happened? I wanted to watch that. I said, well, obviously he wasn't that interested in fighting me.
Wow. That is hilarious. I had a similar, it wasn't a machete though. So I taught college and lived in Kazakhstan in Central Asia for a couple of years. And I actually opened a martial arts school there. And I was right down sort of in the center of town where sort of the main market type thing was, where the trains kind of came in, streetcars and the whole deal. And I definitely had a couple guys walk in, and they were kind of, we're crossing a language barrier, but I had, students that obviously spoke Russian in the local, and I'm getting the idea that, okay, they're checking me out, and they're just kind of like, well, do you spar? Do you fight? I'm like, yeah, sure. And I got the idea like, oh, okay. Oh, you guys want to do that. So I walked over, picked up one of my dog brothers level sticks, and I walked right at him. I said, okay, you pick up a stick. And he's like, what? And I said, yeah, we're a Filipino martial arts school. We do stick work. So yeah, if you want to spar, pick your stick. And he's like, yeah, I'm not interested in that.
I'm interested in doing that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Between getting a black eye or getting your head caved in.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
It's a hard choice to make. It really is.
Right. Exactly. It's like, do you really want to prove your manhood this bad? Okay.
Sometimes they do, and you have to accommodate those guys when necessary.
Right. Yeah. To me, it was a gamble. I'm like, I've been here long enough to kind of get a beat on how some of the local tough guys are. And I'm like, I don't think if this guy was really that type, he probably would have even wandered in here. But yeah. So I'm like, gamble on my part, and it paid off. So thank God.
We're here today talking. It's a good sign.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just like, I really didn't, I'm confident in my ability to take out some guy that probably has not done that, but it's just like, I kind of don't want to deal with local authorities in another country. Like, why'd you bash this guy's head in?
I will say what I've said at least 1,000 times. It's not worth the paperwork.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It's like flat out. You're not worth the paperwork, dude. Walk away.
I think that's Mike. I think that's a good T-shirt. I want to make that.
But that doesn't say I don't have 2 or 3 attorneys on retainer already, just in case. So it's like I have like a large number of teachers and attorneys and doctors who train at my gym, and so like we were talking about something, and I go.
And this concludes the abbreviated version of the Martial Arts Lifestyle Podcast. Please click the like and subscribe buttons, as well as the notification bell. Also consider subscribing to the full-length podcast at www.patreon.com/malmag, or purchasing individual full-length episodes at malmag.gumroad.com. Thank you for listening to this episode with Michael Krivka. Coming up next week, I connect to Canada again to talk with William Hurst. Check out the Malmag store at www.martialartslifestylemagazine.com and click on the store tab. There, you will find a full selection of Timmy B's brand sticks for FMA and Krabi Krabong, as well as Timmy B's and Dos Manos t-shirts. Many more products coming soon. Also click on our courses tab to purchase online courses, right now featuring a course in the Dos Manos stick of FMA. More courses to come. This show is produced by Martial Arts Lifestyle Magazine. Visit us at www.martialartslifestylemagazine.com and enjoy the free version of our online magazine with articles, a recommended schools page, and a worldwide events calendar. Music by Jackal Relic. Martial Arts Lifestyle Magazine and the Martial Arts Lifestyle Podcast are trademarked and copyrighted by TNT LLC.